Hello, and welcome to In Our Community. My name is Charles Bedord, and my guest today is Melina Ramirez. Hello, Melina.
Hi.
Melina earned a bachelor's or a BA degree in art from Santa Clara University and lives in San Jose. She works as a receptionist during the day, but loves to paint original art. Melina, could you tell us a little bit about how you got started in creating original art?
Well, it started when I was very young. For as long as I can remember, I was heavily exposed and drawn to, images and media from pop culture and cultural images as well. So I remember when I was a little girl, I think it started as soon as I could get the motor skills, probably around like age 3 or 4 or 5. It was when I would try to recreate my favorite scenes from like cartoons.
Oh, so you grew up with television then, of course. And
yeah, definitely.
Yes. So you tried to create the drawings you'd see in books and magazines, perhaps, and also the images you'd see on TV.
Yeah, and as I got older, I would sort of reinterpret characters, kind of putting my own twist on them.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you'd take a character you grew up with and you'd kind of create your own image in that.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So when did you decide that you might want to get some formal training in creating art? And what did that formal training look like?
Oh, I knew when I was very young.
Very young. What's very young?
I'd say 5 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember I still have like a homework assignment from, I think I was in 2nd or 3rd grade, where I wrote like a little paragraph saying that I wanted to be an artist. Mm-hmm. And, my parents, they thought that was great. They really encouraged that.
Okay.
And so they signed me up for classes, Saturday classes at University Art.
Were either of your parents artists?
No.
I see. So this kind of just popped up into you for some reason all on its own.
Yeah, I guess it must skip a generation or something, because I actually have an aunt on my father's side who's very crafty. She loves to do things like needlepoint images out of seeds, very crafty stuff.
And then you went to Santa Clara University, correct?
Yes, I did. I got my bachelor's there with an emphasis on mixed media art, which is a combination of various mediums into the same art project. I typically, my concentration was in incorporating other mediums into paintings, such as, text, paper, alternative surfaces, what have you.
I see. Now, did you ever do anything other than painting, or did you go get some training in sculpture or any other forms of art? Or
well, for the art program.
Yes, for the arts program.
Yeah, it's actually a requirement for the degree that you also have to have some training in 3-dimensional art, as well as taking art history courses.
Okay.
And for my 3D requirement, I took ceramics, actually.
I see. Do you still do any of that 3-dimensional art?
I mean, my heart belongs to painting.
Okay, good for you. Do you oil painting or water painting? Or?
Well, when I actually took the classes at University Art, I started off with oil paintings, but I don't know. There's just something about the toxicity of the materials that didn't really appeal to me.
Okay.
And I was actually first introduced to water-based paints, acrylic paints, into high school, and that just sort of kind of revived my interest in painting even more.
Okay, great. Well, I understand that you brought a couple of your paintings with you today.
Yeah.
And let's have a look at one of them.
All right.
And you have one here called Quinceañera. Or forgive me on the pronunciation. You can do it much better.
Sure. The title of the painting is called Quinceañera.
Okay.
Are you familiar with what a quinceañera is?
No, I'm not. You'll have to help me here.
Sure. Well, it's a tradition that's done in Mexico, El Salvador, and I believe some parts of Brazil. I could be wrong.
So when you say tradition, you mean an art style, a style of art? Or?
Oh, no.
No, okay.
A quinceañera, it's sort of a coming out ball for a young woman. And this old tradition, it actually started off as, the original intent of the tradition was to sort of present a young woman at the age of 15 to society as being ready to get married.
Right.
Because by that age, she'd have, ideally already learned to do domestic duties such as cooking and cleaning and learning to raise a child. And I think that's changed so much now. Now it's more of like what you would call a sweet 16 in the United States, where it's just more about celebrating the young girl and sort of having an excuse to throw a big party.
Right.
And I remember I got to that age, and when a Mexican girl gets to be that age, that's when the whole family starts talking about, oh, what are you going to wear? What's the theme going to be?
Now, is that still practiced in the United States widely?
Yeah, in many Latino American cultures, it's still practiced widely.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, but that was actually sort of an awkward time for me. So this painting is kind of meant to, it's sort of a reflection of that very angsty time. And I remember I really wanted to wear a black dress, and my family was just not having it because, back in the old days when the tradition was still very new, a girl would wear a white dress because that was supposed to, represent her purity, saying that she was a virgin. And, at that time I figured, that wasn't anyone's business. So, yes.
Now, I notice that, of course, you talk about the different colors of black and white, and here the overwhelming color is pink.
Yes.
Not only in the background, but also in the hair and in the little crown on the head. Can you discuss what is the significance of pink?
Well, I use pink very defiantly and proudly in my work.
Defiantly, that's interesting.
I say defiantly because, I remember I was watching a TV program about a correctional facility in Texas, and I heard that it was explaining how, one of the tactics used to sort of shame the male inmates into behaving better was to make them wear pink jumpsuits.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and that didn't sit well with me because that just kind of demonstrated like an institutionalized hatred of the feminine.
I see.
Yeah, because, this is a color that's, forced on us from birth. And it was at that moment when I kind of realized, why should femininity be synonymous with weakness? Why should that be something that's used shamefully?
I see. Well, actually, that's kind of interesting because in today's society, we're getting to use pink even in male-dominated areas. Sometimes, for instance, you see pink celebrated in baseball, fights against breast cancer, and pink celebrated in anti-domestic violence campaigns and so on. So pink is being incorporated into the more male-dominated areas of society today, too.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it's also great that, it's being used to promote these causes that affect a lot of women.
If I could ask you to hold up the picture one more time, please.
Sure.
There's another interesting thing I'd like to ask you about, and that is here you have a pink rifle with what it looks like flowers coming out. And actually, I've noticed, I've looked at some of your other paintings too, and in your other paintings, you've also prominently displayed a rifle. Can you talk a little bit about that, please, what that symbolizes?
Yeah, certainly. So around the time that I was making this body of work, I was very interested in sort of cultural representation of women of color because as I was going through my formal training in art at Santa Clara University, I couldn't help but notice that, these masters of painting that they were studying, they were primarily rich white males. And the female subjects in these very famous paintings were primarily very pale and very passive. So I became very interested in, really strong images of women of color. And this was when I was learning about indigenous guerrilla movements like the FMLN in El Salvador or the Zapatistas in Chiapas, Mexico. And as I was researching these groups, I would notice that, there were these really beautiful images of women with arms, you know, defending
Right.
their homes, defending their cause. And it was just sort of really refreshing to see that imagery because, that kind of imagery, because, you know, growing up, whenever I would see images of women with arms, it was usually like very overtly sexual or, you know, very much meant for a male gaze.
So this is your personal statement. It's something that you wanted to state by yourself, and that's how the rifle got there then.
Yes.
Okay, that's an interesting background. I thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, no problem.
Now let's look at a second painting that you brought, and I particularly like the title of this one. It says, this is called Save a Seat in Your Memory for Me.
Yes.
And again, there's just something that strikes me about that title. I really like that. Can you discuss this, please, with our audience?
Sure. Well, this was actually done more recently, and I was actually revisiting the painting before that I had just showed you because I consider it one of my favorites. I find myself missing it because you know, the quinceañera one, it actually belongs to one of my private collectors. So you know, I found myself kind of doing this in sort of a nostalgic mood. So
Okay.
I was kind of revisiting that and how that previous one, you know, it was kind of depicting a moment in my life where I was very angsty and sort of not in control, but you know, I wanted so much to be strong. And this is kind of capturing, it's still drawing from the person I was, but I think it's more of a sort of interpretation of an awakening of, you know, adulthood, of womanhood.
So when you say save a seat in your memory, that means your own past, what you used to be in the past.
Yes.
And you want to keep track of that as you're going through life in the present.
Yeah, going forward.
And perhaps another way of saying it, always remember where you came from.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how you got there. Very good, beautiful painting. And again, I noticed the color pink is very prominently displayed.
Yeah, I'm still proud of it.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit, do you have any influences that have really shaped your art? Are there any people or events that really that have influenced what you paint and how you interpret art?
Well, I guess in the past, what really influenced what I painted was what I didn't see. When I was studying these, you know, what were considered great works of art by, you know, the academic standard, by the Eurocentric standard. And I just really wanted to paint, you know, what I thought would be very powerful. I wanted to sort of, you know, recreate these paintings in a way so that these very strong women were sort of reclaiming their space. And a very famous artist that actually does something like that is Kehinde Willie. Okay. He's an African-American artist, and what he actually does is he makes these very, very grand Baroque-esque paintings, but the subjects are African-American figures, and some of them are actually hip-hop artists. He's done portraits of Salt and Pepper, of Kanye West, of Biggie Smalls, and a lot of his subjects are also just people that he hired off the streets of Brooklyn that he chose to model for him.
Well, thank you very much. We're coming to the end of our show, I see, and I want to thank you very much for sharing your art with us, discussing it. And finally, one final question. How can people contact you if they're interested in purchasing art or just getting in contact with you in general?
Well, if someone would like to be a private collector, they can always reach me at maramirez501@gmail.com, or, you know, they can always look for me on Facebook, Melina Alexa Ramirez, and I'd be happy to hear from someone.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Melina. I enjoyed our discussion, and thank you for joining us in our community.
Thank you for having me.
Hi there, I'm Vilma Gardner, and in our community, in the studio, we've got this beautiful lady, Tatiana. Hi, Tatiana. So glad that you could be here with us.
Me too.
Okay.
Me too.
The wonderful thing is that you do belly dancing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so tell us about how you got into belly dancing.
Well, where I live in Sunnyvale, I'm not too far from Murphy Avenue. It seemed like it's a happening street. You know, there's bars, restaurants. And then one night at me and my girlfriend was out, you know, hitting the town, you know, because if I'm not, you know, hitting the town with me and my girlfriend, I'm hitting the town with me and my guy friend, Steve. Yeah. But anyways, to make a long story short, we were out and we saw these pretty ladies. Well, I saw these pretty ladies, and they were dancing to good music. The music was sounding good. They were looking good. And I said, oh my gosh, that is so neat. And not too long after that, I got into it.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing it?
Off and on for 10 years.
Wow. Wow. That's so amazing. So what what's your favorite move? What do you think? Like,
my favorite move, I think the waist and the waist and the waist and the upper chest.
Yeah, really? How long did it take you to like master the moves?
Basically about a year or so, because I didn't perform till start performing till at least a year after training.
Really?
A year or so after training, yeah. Because I mean, even though it's a dance mostly with torso movement. Still, I'd want to make sure I don't mess up any way or form. I mean, they don't expect you to be perfect. You know, they expect you to have fun, but they don't want, you don't just mess up, you don't want to just mess up any way or form still. You want to do the best you can. And you know when you do the best you can.
Yes, that's right.
And
so tell us a little bit about, just a short history of how belly dancing came about.
Believe it or not, belly dancing has been around for over 5,000 years. And it's a Middle Eastern dance. It's translated from the French word "danse de la ventre," means torso movement. And it's mostly it's also come started out not around in India, but in other parts of the Middle Eastern parts, and then before it finally came to Europe. Well, first it came to Middle Eastern parts in North Africa, believe it or not, North Africa and the Middle Eastern parts. And for finally came to the United States. Did you know that in Chicago's World Fair, when they had first Chicago's World Fairs, back when they're having the World Fairs, they were the main attractions. The dancers from Egypt, they were one of the main attractions, and so that helped. And then Hollywood got together and did movies of them in the 30s. When the film industry started coming out, and ever since then we've been there ever since.
Belly dancing, okay. So we're going to be showing a bit of clip of your moves, your really fantastic moves. So here it goes.
Yes it is. Oh yeah. Yeah, that was at one of the dance festivals that we had here. The lady used to do the dance festival. She just retired this year. I was so sad. I expect to retire so soon, but last year was her last year doing the Desert Dance Festival, I believe. Yeah. This year or last year, but I think it was more like the last year from what I heard from the other girls.
It's wonderful. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
It's got health benefits too, right?
Yes, it does. It has health benefits, just like any other activity, because you're constantly moving, and just about like any other dance, even though it might be, even though it may be, how you call it, more workable. Oh, what's the name for it?
It's not aerobic.
It's not aerobic,
but it's more soft movements. Correct?
Yeah. Even though it's not hard like aerobics or anything like that, you still get the benefits of working out. By losing weight, being healthy, energetic, whatever benefits you get, from doing a sport.
How often do you have to practice every day?
I usually practice once, twice a week when I was practicing, but I try to practice once a week or once every other week if I was going to practice.
Yeah, wonderful. And you've also done shows in the Bay Area, right?
Yes, I have. I started my first restaurant in Campbell in 2006, and my last restaurant was at I think 2012 at this place in Sunnyvale called Java Cafe or something like that. They changed their name around, and plus I have a couple of DVDs out, which I'm happy to say. Because I associate with the people who are in the Middle Eastern Cultural Dance Association or MEGDA, and they usually have their gala show to the end of the year. And one of the gala shows I happened to catch, the beginning of the year in January. And that's how I got my first DVD, I'm happy to say.
That's
and the
so
rest was the Desert Dance Festival. Oh, yeah. It's, it's something, if you don't have to always perform, you just, a lot of people go into just to have fun and get the workout benefit of it.
Yeah. Are you okay to show a bit of movement, like live in the studio? What do you think?
What do you think, guys? Should I show them what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. Live in the studio. All right. Whoa. Yeah, that's really good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was so fascinating.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yes.
So besides belly dancing, do you have any other like hobbies that you like?
Jazz, modern.
Whoa.
Whenever I have the time to do it and stuff like that, because everything takes, what have you. Yeah, jazz.
You're constantly dancing. Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, and plus I'm waiting for my DVD at West Valley, because I had 2 jazz shows and a couple of modern shows or contemporary, and I'm still waiting for the copy of my tape. I got at West Valley. Other than that, I figure you have to constantly. I think that's where people who constantly, not so much perform, but constantly practicing. And I had most time, recently especially now recently, I have to, practice a little more.
Would you like to teach, other people belly dancing? That would
be maybe only time
somewhere,
will tell. Yeah,
somewhere
that's a good
along
question.
the way.
We have a good amount of teachers, people who like to teach, and I have to admit there are some good teachers out there.
Yeah. Do you have any like family members that are also interested in belly dancing? Do you think? Wow, I hit a chord, didn't I?
No, not that I don't think so. I'm the only one, to my amazement. I got a lot of family. You wouldn't want to see my family tree.
Okay.
Yes, that's how big it is.
So you're the only one that's like so fascinated with belly dancing.
Yeah,
wow.
it's amazing. I never thought or dreamed I would be. I am, but it's not so bad.
So it all started with just being out, one night and you heard something.
Yeah, exactly. Just like that one song. That's just one guitar. Just,
So you never know, right?
You never know.
Yeah. Okay. And where, I know that you studied at that Sunnyvale, you said the Sunnyvale Community Center?
Yes, it was Alcina. She's a good teacher, Alcina. And I miss studying with her, but due to the fact Sunnyvale Community Service cut back on helping low-income families pay for their activities, I eventually stopped working with her, and I missed her. I try to pay for it myself, but it's too much, after a while.
It's good that there's some kind of community, activities like that for people.
Yeah, and sometimes, and that's why they say it's good to give, I don't, if you have to check out the center, it's good to give.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Sunnyvale Community Services, they're one of the best out there. I have to give credit where credit's due. They help me in different ways, other different ways. Like, teach, help me pay for my lessons and stuff. They do other things, but mostly for the kids, which is okay. Kids 18 and under, because, for low-income families, they don't do, especially if you're not old enough to go places, it's hard for a child.
That's what I love about our city and the Bay Area. Pretty much there's so many things that, the community does for people.
That's right. Yeah. We got a lot of festivals here. I mean, gosh, I remember back in New Mexico, I just remember this one this one festival we have downtown, Albuquerque, and, they have Indian Day or regular dance day or something like that.
That'd be pretty good. Also with belly dancing, right, it involves beautiful costumes.
Yes, it does.
So tell us how you get your costumes, or do you make your costumes?
I don't have the time and patience to make my costume. Like Dawn Divine, she's good at making costumes. But if I was going to costumes, I'll go to Ardera Dancing Company or Artemis Imports. If I was going to go.
So do you design them yourself? I mean, like...
No, but I would buy, I don't know if I have the patience or the fortitude to design them. But they're pretty nice, but I like to go buy them, at a good price, especially if they're on sale.
So, so how many costumes do you have by now?
Because 3 or 4.
We're female, we like a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we do. About 2 or 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Including a pair of harem pants.
Yeah. So, another question for you. If you, say for example, weren't doing belly dancing or doing modern jazz, what else would you like to do?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So far, I like to do more of my modern jazz as well as my belly.
Right.
That's one thing I think of right now.
Yeah. Do you sing?
No, but I have been, I have been in air band contests when I was in high school, and I like that. And And I, you know, one time my church was sang for the choir years ago, but I wasn't into much into that, you know. That's a good question, you know, sing. And then the office bar, when it was in Mountain View, you know, I used to love to do karaoke over there. But other than that, that's about it, you know.
Wow, that is so awesome. So shows, that's wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to be wrapping it up, and thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
You've been
Thank
so
you.
Wonderful.
Pleasure to have you here. And thanks for letting, like, you know, people be able to give me a chance to really see who I am.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody, those beautiful audience and our crew. Thank you so much for being in our community. Have a great, wonderful time. Thank you.
Bye.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. I look forward to seeing you.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that's another reason I'm glad I can even get you to see my shows more often too. And you know, but due to circumstances beyond my control, you know, not. Well, you know, the main factors people don't stay in their or practice enough in their field of whatchamacallit. So other than that, now things like this, so maybe things will hopefully go up.